Hello, everybody, and welcome to Barnes& and Noble's Midday Mystery Series. I'm USA Today best-selling psychological thriller writer John Mars, author of novels including Keep It in the Family with the infamous Chapter 39, The One, and next March's You Killed Me First. But you're not here for me, because today is all about the fabulous Freida McFadden. From the three Housemaid stories to Ward D, Never Lied, The Teacher, and now The Boyfriend, the practicing physician turned bestseller has sold more than 10 million books in just a few short years. She's the winner of both the International Thriller Writer Award for Best Paperback Original, and the Goodreads Choice Awards for Best Thriller. Why? Because that girl knows how to knock out a twist like no other. Is that fair to say, Frida?
I guess so. I'm sorry. I'm still a little shaken from that intro. That was
How
very
cool.
scary.
How cool was that video?
That was really good. Like, I would watch that.
Oh, yeah, I might even read the book. So I'm kind of curious because you are known for your twists as well as your amazing stories and fantastic relatable characters. But at what point in the writing process do the twists come? Are they as you write, or are they plotted out well in advance?
Oh, they're very much plotted out in advance. Like, I've heard people say this, but I don't come up with it on the fly. Like, I won't write a word until I have the twist. And I do plant little breadcrumbs throughout. And if I don't have a good twist, if I don't have a twist that if I tell it to my husband, he's like, that's pretty good. Like, I won't write it.
Okay. So is he your first, say, is he your sounding board? Is he the first person who'll read your book?
Well, he's my sounding board because he does not read my books. So I don't have to worry about spoiling them because I know he'll never read them. So I can tell him all the plot twists and he can make fun of them and tell me how bad they are or adequate they are. So that's all I'm waiting for from him. That like, okay, that's pretty good.
Is he not a big reader in general?
No, I would say the only book he has read in the last decade is probably The Housemaid. So, and he read it because he found out it was going to be a movie, maybe, and he was like, "Oh, I better read it." So,
That's funny because I know about you, a lot of my friends don't read.
yeah, I most of my friends read, but he's just never been a reader, and he does also have the second Housemaid book. It's like by his bed. He has not opened it yet. He hasn't started reading it. I keep saying if I see it in the bathroom, that will be a sign that he started reading it.
Okay.
But he has not yet.
So who is the first person who'll read your book? Obviously, aside from yourself.
Probably either my mom or my agent. So it used to just be my mom because like I was scared to give things to my agent, but she knows me so well now. I'm just like, yeah, even if it's bad, I can give it to her.
Do you have like a team of beta readers or anything like that?
Yeah, I actually have a group of girlfriends in real life, and we meet at a restaurant once a month, and we like exchange writing. So they're awesome. I call it the Power Woman Workshop.
And how do you know these people in the real world? How have you met?
So when I moved to my area, there was a writing workshop that I joined. It was like a big writing workshop, and it sort of died down a little bit during COVID. And I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I stole all the women out of the workshop and I started my own because like it's not that I don't trust the opinion of men. Men are wonderful and they write very well, but a lot of the men in the group just wrote fantasy, and I never really had anything to say. So I was just like, you know what? I'll just take the women and we'll have our own. And we meet secretly now. Like we meet at the same God, I hope nobody from that group is watching. We meet at the same the same restaurant, but we have to meet on a different night.
Okay.
So we don't like run into each other by accident and they find
Okay.
out what I did.
So it's been quite a big week for you. It's the
Yeah.
release of The Boyfriend.
Yeah,
Does
yeah.
the releases get easier or do they get harder?
They're always terrifying. I have to be honest. Like I want to just be chill about it and excited. And I am excited. I'm like so excited, but I'm also like scared that like something will go wrong and like something totally unpredictable, like the whole internet will go down and like nobody can buy a copy or something, like something really bad, like beyond my control.
Yeah. Because when people ask me, how do you celebrate when your book comes out? And I don't celebrate. I'll just like hide away. I just
Yeah.
like let the world just deal with it.
I can't even eat something good because I like I'm all nervous butterflies. I'll get like an ulcer or something. So
Well,
I just kind of wait for the day to be over. The second day, the day after the release is a good day.
yeah.
But yeah, the release day is just all total sick fear. So
Do you read your reviews in the run up to the release and afterwards, or do you steer clear of them?
no, I read them. I think it's important to read reviews. I feel like I learn a lot from them. Like I always joke around, like, after reading the reviews, like too many turtles. I get it. Like that was so, I think it's important. I want to grow as a writer, and I think reading reviews is an important way to grow. And I've learned so much from them. And it's
Yeah.
not just like one review. Like one review, it's bad, whatever, I don't care. But if you're seeing like lots of people saying the same thing, then you have to listen to it. You have to be like, yes, too many turtles. I got it.
Yeah.
I
So can you tell
understand.
us a little bit about the story of the boyfriend?
Well, it's about dating, like in your 30s. It's a woman who I always have trouble telling what a story is about. Like I don't know why. It's easier to write it than it is
Yeah.
to do this.
Aren't elevator pitches just the hardest?
It's so hard. Or the back cover copy,
Yeah.
like it's so hard. Anyway, let me try to do this. Like so she's dating and one of her friends is murdered by a guy she was dating. And they're trying to figure out who did it. And then she starts to suspect that this guy that she's dating could be maybe the guy who killed her friend. So
Often words used to describe your books are bingeable. And I absolutely get why, because you know there are twists coming. You're sitting there trying to fathom them out, and you can't put that book down until you've discovered what the twists are and what you're going to do to us. Did you when you read books, are you looking for twists? Do you read books with twists, or do you read totally different genres?
I read a mix. Right now, I'm in the middle of reading The Women by Kristen Hanna. It's brilliant. I'm not anticipating any major twists.
Uh,
It's good either way. If
yeah.
like, it turns out she was dead the whole time or something, like I don't know. I don't know if that would make it better. But very good book. And I read a lot. Like I try to read other genres, and I also read thrillers. I've also been binging a lot of Stephen King audiobooks recently, which are amazing. He's not also like he's more horror, not really about the twists. So I don't expect a lot of that. But I honestly like if you'd ask me like what I prefer more as a reader, like a good story and kind of a mediocre twist, or like a kind of slow story and a great twist, I would take the good story because it's all about the ride. It's all about getting there. And at this point, I've read so many of these and written so many. I predict so many of these twists. It's like
Yeah.
frustrating. Like I'm frustrated with my brain that I can't turn this off and just like enjoy it and be surprised anymore.
Growing up, my dad was like that. He was a cop, so anytime he watched a cop show, that person did it, he would know exactly. And it was so annoying.
Oh yeah. Like I've gotten really annoying like watching shows with my family because I'll be like if it's like a thrillery type of thing, because I'll be like 2 episodes before I'm like this and this is gonna happen. And then it will all happen. And they'll be like, did you watch this already? I'm like, no, it was just obvious.
So you
So
were you were working as a physician when you first started writing. Why did you decide to turn your hand to novels?
well, I've always been writing. Like I've been writing since I was like 9 years old. So it's just a hobby. totally a hobby, something I've always done for fun. Like anytime in school there was a creative writing class, I would take it. I took a bunch in college, and I was just, having fun writing. And then, when self-publishing became a thing, I was like, oh, I could put it like online and I can have a book that I can hold. That's what I wanted so much, just like a book to hold. And I was like, if I get that book and I can hold it, I'll just be happy. I'll be done. So, I self-published my first book. It was not a thriller. It was called The Devil Wears Scrubs. And I got to hold it. And I sold a few thousand copies. And I'm like, this is great. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then I had another idea. And I was like, oh, I'll do it again. And I, again sold, some copies. And it was just me doing this for fun. My kids were little at the time. I certainly didn't have time for much. I was just having fun. It was a hobby, 100%.
Then what changed for you?
Just like more people reading. Part of it was I switched jobs and I had a little more free time work-wise. And my kids got older. And I know you have a little one, Don, but as they get older, they really just don't want to have much to do with you.
I can't wait for that moment.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I can take a shower again.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just had a lot of time when, the kids were with their friends, they didn't want to hang out. Like I wasn't at work and I was like, okay, now I can do 2 books a year. And I started, getting into writing thrillers because I love to read them. So I was just like, I can write these. And people I think it was The X was my first book where it did like really well. Like lots of people bought it and it just like kind of snowballed and it was very unexpected and unintended.
So walk us through a typical day in your life. So what kind of time are you up in the morning? What time do you start writing? How do you fit it around your family?
So I get up at about 7 because that's when I start the process of waking my daughter up to go to school. It's a long process. The the goal is to try to like get the cat and like bring it to her and then trap the cat in her room because then the cat will want to get out to get food and she'll have to let the cat out. So that will like get her out of bed. So that's the goal every morning. This is how I begin every day. If I don't get the cat, then I have to, shaking. Anyway, that's a large part of my day. Anyway, and I bring her to school and then it's just, I write intermittently. I try to like do like mental and body health stuff now because, it's different being home and working. So I try to like meditate and do yoga every day because I think that's like I am a very anxious person. So I think like these mind body things are really important to like stay mentally healthy. And, it depends if I'm working on a project. If I'm working on a project, I will just dive into it because I can't wait because I love it so much. So if my publisher gives me something to edit, I like dive right into it. But if I don't have that, I'm a little less focused.
Yeah. How do you stay focused? Because I know I just fly off on all different kind of tangents. My peak writing time of each day is 3:00 and that's school pickup time. So frustrating. That's when my head is like, right, I need to write now. Oh, gotta go and pick up. Do you have a peak?
It's like every time I get into a good groove, like the people in my house seem to sense it and then they come and they need me.
Yes.
It could be like nobody's bothered me for hours and then I'll like finally get into a groove and like my husband will come in and he'll see me and he's like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm writing. And then he'll just like stand in the room with me, like watching me. I'm like, this is not working for me.
Yes.
You can leave the room, if you need me for something, I can stop, but I can't be observed writing. It's not like, it's not like dancing or like singing. It's not something where you want to be observed where you're doing your craft.
Not really, no, absolutely not. Otherwise, people just be observing me just sitting, picking my nose and eating biscuits all day.
Right. Like, Well, eating with people is okay. I could still do
That's
that,
fine. That's
but
fine. So I'm guessing, so a lot of people ask, are you a plotter or a pantser? And I'm guessing that you're a plotter.
definitely a plotter. But I'm not one of those like, you see those people with those like the whiteboards and everything's like,
Yeah.
like the line connecting everything. It's all in my head. So if I need to change something, that way I can change it. Because I mean, I'm sure John, like when you start writing something, like a character you didn't think was interesting in the beginning becomes like more interesting and you want to change things. So I don't want to be stuck in
No.
some like crazy outline that I can't change. So it's all in my head, but it's actually pretty planned out in my head usually.
So how many rewrites will you do before it goes to your agent?
Well, my agent gets it pretty quick, but before my editor gets it, like, a couple. And then like the editing, that takes a long time. Like I have all my beta readers go through it, and then my editor at Sourcebooks is amazing. She's so good, and she has so many comments. Like they're so good, and I also sort of want to cry because sometimes I'm
Yes.
like 8 comments on one page. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
there's like 200 pages. Like I can't.
Yeah.
But
I get you.
they're all good. I just want to be like, no, I can ignore this, and this, and I can't because they're all really good comments. But I have to address all of them.
Yeah. Going back to what we were talking about earlier on about how you kind of you were selling well self-publishing. I think for us over in the UK, I think it was when The Housemaid came out that your career just seemed to blow up. Was that the same for the States? And what do you think of what it was about that book that resonated with readers?
Yeah, it was definitely, I was doing well before that. The Locked Door did really well, and I saw it on Facebook a lot, but it was a Housemaid that really took off. It was my first book with a publisher, although it was like an ebook publisher, Bookouture, great. And I was fine self-publishing. They had to talk me into it, and I did it. Good idea, I guess.
Uh,
And
it kind of worked for
yeah,
you.
I guess so. We'll see. And I think it was just, it was the right book at the right time somehow. It kind of took off with book talk,
Yeah.
and they gave it to the right people who like loved it. I personally think that the girl power stuff in it is what people love because I personally, anything that's girl power, my kids know, like if there's a movie or show that has girl power, they're like, "Oh, mom, you're gonna love this. It's girl power." So, so I think to me that's what's cool about the book, and I think that's might be what resonated with people. But it's hard to know. Like you don't know what the right moves are until after.
Yeah. Because a lot of people can have a real breakout hit and then not really be able to follow it up with
Yeah.
equal success. But you have equaled the success of that and you have just kept going. What is it do you think about your writing or your books that people just seem to have fallen in love with?
No. I think I just try to be interesting. Like when I'm writing, like whenever I'm writing a scene, before I write it, I think to myself, is this going to be interesting? Like, how can I make this scene interesting? It's not even the plot as a whole, but I'm just like, is this scene going to be interesting enough? Is like this next part going to be interesting enough? And I try to just think when I'm writing something like, what's the worst thing that could happen at this moment? What's the most embarrassing, awful thing that can happen to this character right now? And I just try to go for it. And like, I just want my books to be interesting and fun. And I'm always thinking about that. But I I also think it's kind of luck. I mean, there are a lot of good books out there. And I kind of a trajectory just is like unstoppable somehow now. And like once you get in that and people are reading your books, they're going to keep reading. But there are a ton of authors that I think are great who are not as popular as me. Maybe they will be someday, but I acknowledge that some of it is just luck, the right place, right time.
You met one of your favorite writers not so long ago, didn't you? Robin Cook?
Yes. Oh my God. That was so amazing for me. So this is an author, Robin Cook, if you don't know him. He's sort of a contemporary of Michael Crichton, who most people have heard of. He wrote these medical thrillers. I think he's most known for Coma, which is a movie with Michael Douglas. And he was he was my first like adult author, like went from, reading like Babysitter's Club and Judy Blume, and then like now I'm reading Robin Cook, and then also Mary Higgins Clark was another favorite. And I just I read everything he wrote. Me and my mom used to like share the books. She would always bend the spine, which made me nuts.
Really?
Anyway,
Oh, I'm a spine bender. I'm a page
yeah,
flapper. Ooh, you'd
book
hate me.
murder. So I was always huge admirer of his, and she, she'd probably call him her favorite of all time. She looks forward to all his books so much. And he saw that I mentioned him in my article in the New York Times, and he reached out to me to read, his new book, which is called Bellevue, and it was awesome. And I asked, would he give me a signed copy of one of his books? And he came to my house, and he did, and it was amazing. And he called my mom. He was so nice. So that was definitely one of the highlights of my career / life. He was so cool.
So which other authors would you like to meet in person? Not me. Let's say whoever you want to.
I would just love the trip to the UK. That would be cool.
Are you recognized in the street?
No, never. I mean, people don't know who Freida McFadden is. I'm just telling you, people do not know that name. I'm being real here.
Are you glad for that? Does that make life easier?
I am very glad for that. I don't want to be Taylor Swift here. I'm happy being, just quietly living my quiet little life.
How do you get your head around being like, you're currently one of the world's biggest selling authors? That's the entire world. You're one of the biggest selling authors at the moment. How do you get your head around that? I
don't think about it. I don't know. It's too much. If I start thinking about it, I'll get upset, and I get anxious. So if I ever honestly, if I ever start getting anxious about that stuff, and I'll go to either Facebook or one of my book reviews, and I'll start reading negative stuff about me, oh, she sucks, she's a bad author, and that makes me feel so much better. It's people were defend me. And I'm like, no, don't defend me. I need this. I need to hear that I suck sometimes. I really need this.
You're not massively keen on doing public events, are you? I just wondered. But the thing is, you are brilliant at social media, and I'm chatting to you here, and you're great, and I'm sure everyone who's watching thinks the same. Was there a conscious decision to put all your efforts into social media rather than going out and doing book tours and touring the country?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm terrified right now. I'm just good at hiding it.
Okay.
But yeah, I have to be honest. I'm not I have some social anxiety, and it's hard for me to do, live things. It's very scary. And especially when you've never done it, if I had, been old school, in the 70s and 80s before social media, where this sort of stuff was required, I'm sure I'd be used to it, and I'd probably get to really like it. But it would just be so scary. And not wanting to disappoint people who were thinking oh, I'm excited to meet Freida. I'm but it's just me. I'm probably going to disappoint you. Yeah. So I think that's part of the fear. But on social media, I mean, I started doing this because I love to write. So writing fun posts on social media, I mean, that's why I got into writing, because I love doing that kind of stuff. So it's just so natural for me to just do the thing that I have fun doing. And I think that's why I'm good at it, because I like it. And you can't fake liking things.
No.
I think people know that I'm genuinely just having a fun time.
Because if you and I launched our careers, say 15 years ago, it would be very different, wouldn't it? We would not be doing as much social media. We would be expected to go out and meet people. And to be honest, you wouldn't get time to write the books, would you, if you're constantly out on the road?
I know. I think that's why indie writers and newer writers write more books, because we don't have to be constantly out on a road. Like, I think I read something where an author a long time ago was saying, like, oh, you write a book, but then the work begins, because you have to like promote the book and go everywhere and do all these events. And like, I don't do any of that. So I have a lot of more time to write, which is what I love. So, I do love interacting with fans online. I find the like in real life stuff like a little frightening for me.
Which of your books would you say reveals the most about you?
Well, it would probably be my first book, which is The Devil Wears Scrubs, because it was just like literally like a autobiography. It's like almost a memoir, except for the romance, because of course I had no romance in my life when I was a medical resident. But I was married to my wonderful husband. But it was almost autobiographical. But a lot of my characters are based on me. So like when they say, "Oh, this character is naive and makes bad decisions," I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds about
That's
right."
me. I'm the anti-hero, as Taylor would say.
Exactly, I'm the anti-hero.
Because the boyfriend, so obviously you've been married a long time. The
Yeah.
boyfriend was a lot about current dating. What kind of research did you have to do for that? Because it is terrifying. I've been married a few years as well. I couldn't imagine going back into the dating world.
Yeah, I mean, I did have to remember some of my dating years. And actually, to be honest, like a long time ago when I was a very small child of three, my parents got divorced. And one of my very early memories is of my mom, like old school dating, like back in the 80s. Now I'm dating myself, right? Like in the 80s. Um, you had to like get a personal ad, like you put it in the paper, and then you have these dances. And it was
Yeah.
like, a big chunk of my childhood was, remembering all these, dates she went on. And like, it really had a big like impact on me. And now I see, I went through it myself, and now I have a lot of friends who are still dating. And, I think it's interesting. It's a weird time in your life of just like auditioning all these
Yeah.
men or women to be your possible
Yeah.
partner. So
I'm fascinated by it. So I have friends who are single and they have dating apps on their phones. And when they come over, I'm like, oh, I want to see who's local. I'm kind of swiping and looking to see what's going on.
yeah.
It's quite
Yeah, it's
fascinating.
so interesting. Like they send me like screenshots, like, what do you think of this guy? Or what do you think of that guy? I'm like,
Yeah.
this is more interesting than my life.
Yeah. At what point do you think you'll slow down with your writing?
Um, I mean, I've been publishing 3 full-length books a year, and that feels right to me now. Like I feel like I actually wrote 4 books last year, and one of them I just didn't think was good enough, so I tossed it for now, or
Ooh.
shelved it for now, because I just felt like it just wasn't right.
How far through did you get?
But
How far through the book did you get
oh, I wrote
writing?
the whole thing, and it's actually funny. I gave it to my agent, and she liked it, and she was like, "This is great," and I was just like, no, it just felt like it wasn't right. And I feel like I have learned to trust my gut whenever I feel like something's not right. When the book came out, I've been correct about it. So I've learned to I think my gut is right about what's interesting, what's working, what isn't. And I might use this book, fix it, and like revise it, but I felt like it wasn't right, and I refuse to put out something that I feel like I personally don't think is good enough.
Did you see all the horrified emojis that appeared on screen when you said that there's a book that you tossed away? I've never seen so many before.
Oh, oh no, they're not crying. They're crying laughing. So that's
Yes, it's brilliant. So questions were solicited in advance from the ticket holders, from our lovely people watching this. So I've got a
Thank you
lot of
so
reader
much.
questions for you. So Leah, I'll apologize now if I get anyone's name wrong. So Leah McNeely asks, did the names for your main characters come from suggestions in your Facebook group? So I'm guessing this is for the boyfriend.
I do get I do mind my Facebook group for name ideas. I definitely like there's so many characters in these books and I've written so many, I'm really running out of ideas. So like when I need a name, I'll now look in the group and I've warned people, if you're in my group, I might use your name at some point.
Uh-huh.
Although I have been told by some family members that they want their names to be used in my books. And my daughter specifically said that she not only wants to be in the book, she wants to be the main character and she wants to be the murderer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we'll see about that. But
Why is the common theme of place for your books New York? Asks Andrea Christian.
I'm from New York. I grew up in Manhattan. So I'm a New Yorker. I lived there large chunk of my life. I went to, school there. I went to medical school there. So it's just like my comfort place to write about. So even though I don't live there anymore, I still feel more comfortable writing about New York than anywhere else. I think it's just a fun place.
Yeah. I got married there. It's an interesting fact.
Oh, where?
Yeah. In City Hall.
Oh,
Yeah,
I got married at City Hall, but in California. So
okay. Yeah.
but we could have had a group wedding.
We could have. Well,
We still can.
people still think we're the same person anyway.
That's right. That's right. This will just make it worse. They'll be like, yeah, go to City Hall. They claim different ones.
Yes. So Melissa Markland and Monica Derbyshire ask pretty much the same question. In your later, most recent novels, do you have people in your life that you picture as characters? So do you imagine your friends and family as the heroes of your stories?
Not so much imagine, like not physically imagine them, but I definitely take things that have happened to me in real life and I use them in my books. Like in The Housemaid is Watching, I wrote it right after I had moved and they're moving in the book. So like all of these things that happen, like for example, like everything in the new house, every time we use something new, I would say, we're christening it. Like we're christening our bathroom, we're christening our refrigerator. And like, there was some point where like, everyone was like, enough, mom, you got to stop saying that. So that all made it into the book. So I'm constantly getting ideas from my conversations with like family members.
I like some of the locations that you used in The Boyfriend because I've had friends who've lived over in New York, and for over here in the UK, you think New York, everyone lives like the characters from Sex and the City in these amazing apartments. But you did glamorize where people live over there in New York and just how cool these things can be. One
of my books, I think it was the Act. Like one of the characters lives in like one of those micro apartments, like the one where like you basically have like a bed and then your like oven is also like a refrigerator or something. Like those things are ridiculous, but also awesome.
Luke Serrano asks, do you usually come up with a story first and then create the characters to fit into it, or is it the other way around?
I usually come up with the story first. Like I think I'm a pretty plot-driven author, but I do get very attached to my characters and I feel like I know them. And like if one of them has to die, like it makes me so sad. So
really,
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm the other way around. I'm like, I'm going to kill you.
You're like.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier on, by the way, about audiobooks. Do you listen to your audiobooks?
I do sometimes. I've actually like a new audiobook fan. Like up until a year ago or so, I never listened to an audiobook. And then I sort of like train myself to start because it's hard. Like people say, how do you get into audiobooks? Because it's like the first time it's somehow hard to do. Like you kind of like lose your focus and it's just weird. But now I love it. It's like when you're like in grade school and your teacher's reading to you. I love that. Yeah. Sorry. I forgot the question, but you can ask the next one.
No, I was just asking, do you listen to your own audiobooks?
Oh, right. Yes. Sometimes, but I prefer I've been listening to Stephen King lately, and I like memoirs. I've been listening to a lot of memoirs, which are fun because, the author usually reads them.
Yeah.
Um, and I think my favorite was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Did you like
I
that one?
downloaded it about 2 days ago.
Oh, it's so
Listen to it.
good.
Yeah, because she's not famous over here, but I think from what I've read, her story is fascinating.
So my kids were like huge iCarly fans, and then like she was in this show called Sam and Cat, and my younger child, like there was a time when she was just watching Sam and Cat like 100% of the time. Like we actually had to delete it from Netflix because we were gonna like kill ourselves if Sam and Cat played one more time. Like I knew all the episodes by heart. Like it was so ridiculous. But I'm a huge fan of hers just from watching these shows again and again. She was great in iCarly. So it was actually, I got such a kick out of like hearing her iCarly stories and about like Carly, who's Miranda Cosgrove. Can't believe I
Yeah.
came up with that name. Um, but it was such a good book, and she's so funny. So I highly recommend that one.
Jess Richmond asks, which novel would you be most excited seeing a movie adaptation of?
Well, right now, I'm very excited, hoping The Housemaid happens. So, but any of them. I mean, I always say I just want to see one of my books on the screen. That would be like, bucket list checked, can die
Yeah.
happy. We'll see. It's hard. John, I know you got the honor of seeing the one.
Yeah, that was a strange experience because I didn't have, I mean, I don't know, are you going to have anything to do with The Housemaid, or are you just like, my journey with this book is over, now it's over to someone else? Because that's what I was like with the one.
Yeah, I'm the fly on the wall. Like I'm just happy if they tell me what's going on. And you know what? I'm fine with that because I don't trust myself to make any hard decisions. Like I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm like when I pick my audiobook narrators, I agonize over it for like months. So how can I pick like an actor to play a part? Like I would be terrible at that. So they know what they're doing. They can make all the decisions.
Do you kind of visualize when you're writing a book, like for example, the most recent one, The Boyfriend, do you visualize it playing out like a TV show or a movie, or
A
not?
little bit, but I don't see any of the characters in my head. So they could pick anyone. Like if whoever they pick, I'm never gonna say, oh, they don't look like they should, because they're all kind of like these amorphous blobs in my head. So as long as like they're human, roughly human, it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be great.
Well, you could, there's a big market in dinosaur erotica apparently. So if you want to go in a totally different direction and away from humans, I'm just going to recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder who they'd cast.
Fatima Campos asks, what have been your favorite twists in other authors' books?
Oh my God. You know what? I could do like a whole hour just about other author books that I like. I think one of my favorite twists was The Silent Patient. That was a great
Mm.
twist.
Yeah.
And Behind My Eyes by Sarah Pinborough, I
Edinburgh.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was great. And Gone Girl, of course, I
Yeah.
remember first reading it. I know everybody kind of does similar things now, but at the time it was like the first to do that
Yeah.
kind of book. And I remember just being mind blown when I read
Yeah.
it.
I love a WTF moment in a book where you have to then sometimes go back and say, how did I not spot this about to happen?
I know. I know. You've had some pretty good twists too, John. Like
Thank you.
what what lies between, I always forget, I always get the
What
name,
lies between
but
us?
what lies beneath us or between us?
Yeah, whatever. Between, but you do.
That was some pretty cool twists. I did not see those coming. So that was definitely one of my favorites.
Thank you very much. I will pay you later for this. Do you accept PayPal or
I take
Cash?
Venmo.
Okay. Sandra Flashmaker, is that not the coolest name ever? Asks,
Yes.
as a physician myself, I truly appreciate your unique point of view. Do you ever get inspiration from real parents, patients, and do you still practice?
I work about like 1 to 2 days per week. So I'm just kind of like the coverage person now, which is fine. That's all I can really handle at the moment. I definitely get, especially my early books, a lot of inspiration. Brain damage was one. I took a lot of things that happened from real life, like interactions with patients. That's a very, like, anyone who wants a very realistic book about brain damage recovery, that's like my experience
Right.
doing, brain injury recovery. So now not so much, but back in the day, yes.
Reese Manta asks, interesting question. Are there any topics you won't write about? Is there anything that seems too disturbed for you?
Definitely anything involving children being harmed is hard for me. Like somebody was suggesting like a kidnapping story. I'm like, I don't think I can do that. Like it would just be too stressful for me. I don't think I can handle that. And anything where a child dies is like tough for me, like to read. And I don't think I could, it could be something like, oh, a few years ago, a child died or something, something like that. But I don't think it could happen in real time in the book. I don't think I could handle that. And same with like an animal. I'm like, anytime an animal like that, like, I wouldn't think if like a fish dies or something, but like if it's like, I love my cat, if it's a cat
Yeah.
or a dog, I just like and you get to know them. I
Yeah.
can't.
You can't
So
kill an animal in a book. You can kill children,
yeah.
but you can't kill an animal in a book.
I,
Um,
I, I can't do it. Yeah, readers hate that. They don't want it either. And I'm a reader, so I get it.
yeah. Madison Boudreau asks, how old were you when you wrote your first book and what was it?
I think it was like 11 years old.
Wow. Have you still got it?
Yeah, it was what's it about? It was a murder mystery. I'm not sure I finished it. It went on a long time though. Like it was a whole marble notebook filled with like my little writing.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of suspects, and I knew who the killer was. I just don't know if I ever finished it, actually. I might have.
Okay. Well, this is something you can revisit if times get tough.
Yeah. If I run out of ideas, I'll just grab it. Like, I think it's in some dust pile at my mom's house.
Tiffany Lawson asks, how many new books can we expect in 2025?
Right.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about.
That was an easy answer. Yeah. And they're almost all ready. Like, I've been working on them, working hard.
We'll ask you about the next one in a few minutes. But is there Taylor Beauchamp? Anyway, they ask, is there a character that you've ever based on yourself? If so, which one, and on what ways are you similar?
Yeah. I mean, as I was saying, like, they're all like a little based on me. I kind of feel like the more unlikable the character is, probably the more it's based on me. Like when it comes to like making bad decisions, like I have made some stupid decisions. I once like just got into a random car at the airport because the guy told me he was a cab driver. He wasn't like in the cab driver line, and he's just like, "Oh, you need a cab?" Like this random dark car, and I'm like, "Okay," and I got in. And fortunately, he actually was a cab driver, and he didn't kill me. But like it was so stupid. I was 23.
Yeah.
But I have made a lot of bad decisions and I continue to do so. And, sometimes so I get it. Like the woman, running up the stairs when she runs up when she should be running out the front door. That
Yeah.
is totally what I would do if I were attacked by somebody. They would definitely kill me. Like I would have no way to defend myself. Yeah.
Okay. Amy Natalou asks if you could play any of your characters. Sorry, yeah, if you could play any of your characters in a play or movie, who would you choose and why?
So I am not an actor. So
Who
the
would you
answer is
be?
I would like to do like the Stan Lee thing, where you're like kind of like the bus driver and you're like, "Huh, But
It's just one by.
I think if I were playing a character in any of my movies, it would make the movie bad. So I think I'll just stick to like the 2-second cameo if they would allow me to do so.
Carly Parsons asks, do you anticipate writing any sequels for any more of your books?
No. I,
Oh, really? You're done?
I wasn't going to do the Housemaid. I don't know how that happened. I think I'm just, speaking of, making not bad decisions, but I'm very easily talked into things very clearly. Like, anyone could talk me into anything. Like, give me your credit card number, write a sequel to this book. I'm like, okay. But in general, I feel like, I feel like the sequel to a thriller gives away the first book. So, and I even saw like with the Housemaid, everybody was reading them in the wrong order. And my OCD, personality disorder, it was driving me crazy. I was like, no, not the right order. You got to read them in the right order. Like it really bothered me. So yeah. I couldn't stand another book that could be read out of order. Like it would probably kill me.
See, I could, without giving anything away, I could definitely see a sequel to or a continuation of a particular story thread from The Boyfriend.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could think of ways it could happen, but it would give it away. Just the existence of the sequel, like you'd read the summary and be like, oh well, now I know what happens. So I can't.
Okay. Meredith Williams asks, how many books do you have partially written or in the process of writing?
So unpublished. So I'll just say unpublished books. I have 7, including the bad one. But that's including the bad one that I'm not publishing.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. So now it's just a matter of like spending a long time fixing them and editing and making them perfect for my specification.
Macy Young asks, will you and John ever do a book collaboration? Well, as with the same person, all of our books kind of are collaborations.
Yeah, that would just be really strange if we did that. But actually, people have asked me to do collaborations, especially with John. And I mean, I think it would be very, very cool. But I think he would probably hate me by the end of it. I'm intensely bossy when it comes to projects, and like people from like I went to middle school and high school with will tell you, they'll be like, I don't like her anymore after we did that project together. So, and my friendship with John is so important to me. I would never want to do that to him.
I think if it's possible to kill each other over Zoom, that's what we would do.
Yeah, you'd fly out and you'd do it. You'd be like, I can't live with her anymore in this world.
So final few questions. What is your advice for aspiring authors who are interested in writing thrillers? Asks Melissa Schlau.
Well, I think the most important thing is to just go for it. Self-publishing is a thing. Don't just sit there with your idea being too scared to do it. I published a book that was so bad, I had to take it down and redo it because it was humiliating to me. So just do it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, people hate it and you learn from the experience. And there are a lot of good books on plotting. I recommend a lot. Save the Cat Writes a Novel. People I know have said it helps immensely with plotting. So, but yeah, just go for it. Just do it. Books are cool.
Yeah, you have nothing to lose, do you?
You have nothing to lose.
Yeah. Carrie Adam asks, do you ever have crazy dreams after writing all night?
I don't have dreams about stuff I'm writing, although it does keep me awake. Like I was in the middle of a project and somebody was telling me like I should take a break from it. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to sleep until I finish writing this. So let me just finish it. But I don't tend to have dreams about my books. I dream about other books. And sometimes I dream about my yoga class. I was telling you, John, I had this panic dream somehow about yoga class. And this is relevant because there's yoga and The Boyfriend. And a lot of the chocolate story and the boyfriend is based on a true story, I have to
Right.
tell you. But I had this panic dream that I was at yoga and I couldn't find the bathroom. So now you know what I dream about.
So the boyfriend is out. It is free. It's flapping free around the world right now. But the next novel you're going to release, January 28th, is The Crash.
Yes,
What
and
can
I
you
have
tell me
that
about
one
it?
too.
I'm
Whoops,
going to point
sorry.
that's totally the wrong thing to point with that was. So I've got yes. So obviously I finished The
And he's
Boyfriend.
got it
Yeah, yeah, it's there where my little
everywhere.
finger is pointed. Yeah. So could you talk?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about it?
So The Crash is about a very pregnant woman who gets into a terrible accident and she's saved by this very nice couple. But are they nice?
Oh, okay. I'm guessing they might not be nice.
Well, I don't want to spoil anything. So, you know.
Okay. Okay. When did you finish that book?
So this is actually interesting. I wrote this book I probably wrote this book like 5 years ago. And it was an example of a book that I wrote it and I was just like, I don't think this book is good enough. So I put it aside and I published lots of other things. I published The Housemaid and like lots of other books. And then I just suddenly got an idea for how to fix it. And I
Uh-huh.
fixed it. And I rewrote maybe half of it. And now I'm like thrilled with it. So like that's a sort of a lesson that like never publish something I'm not happy with because I can fix it. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to put something out before I've made myself happy.
That's really inspirational because I bet there'll be a lot of people watching who have got books in them or have written books that they're not happy with and they've shoved them in the bottom drawer a while back. And then, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I guess this contradicts my other piece of advice about just do it. Oh well.
Yeah, if you hadn't just done it 5 years ago, we wouldn't be sitting talking about it now, would we?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So when you're just starting, you should just do it. But like a few years into it, then you should wait.
Okay. So we've got a little bit of admin to do before we say goodbye because this is all we have time for. So I want to say thank you for joining us, McFans, and of course the lady herself, Frida. For those of you who bought a ticket and a signed or unsigned copy from Barnes& and Noble, they should be with you in 8 to 10 days. Trade paperback copies of Frida's brilliant new novel, The Boyfriend, are available to order 24/7 on bn.com and at your local Barnes& and Noble stores. And Crash is released in January. Frida, thank you so much. I really enjoyed
Thank you
it.
so much for doing this, John. And thank you. I'm seeing all these hearts. It's warming my heart. And you guys are amazing. Thank you. And John, you're the best.
Vice versa. You know I love you. I'm a big supporter of yours. So thank you so much for asking me to join in your day.
Thank you for coming.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.